السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Jazakallah khair for everyone coming today. And as our brother Abu Jafar said, we have to understand that this issue that's happening in Aleppo is something that's affecting the entire ummah. And that the fact that we're here, all of us, shows that we are all concerned. And alhamdulillah for that. And may Allah put us together with the ones that we love. So today, we're here to discuss what's happening in Aleppo. And one thing that we need to understand is that this is an issue that's affecting the entire ummah. And we need to see it as something that's affecting all of us. So today we're here to discuss why is this happening? And then, what can we do about this? Now, a little background as to what happened in Syria. So what started in Syria is something that started way back in Tunisia, when the brother burned himself alive. And from that came what was called the Arab Spring. And from there many dictators fell. Now you have to understand that the Syrian people did not participate in this. They were extremely scared of their government. And this is something that comes from before. And the father of the current dictator, Bashar al-Assad, his father Hafiz al-Assad, where he massacred the people. So the Syrians were not people who were protesting and were not interested in something like this. And that is why this issue is very shocking. The fact that they actually rose up. So what happened was, in a southern city called Dar'a, some kids spray painted graffiti. And this was anti-government graffiti. The government got a hold of these kids, and some of these kids were as young as 12. The government got a hold of them, tortured them, and killed them. So the residents of the city came out and protested. Now in this protest, what did the government do? The government shot at the protesters and killed some of them. And what happened? More protests came in all over the country. And what did the government do again? More brutality. The government then started killing people and attacking them. And it got so bad that many soldiers defected. And this became a full-out blown civil war. And this is something that we've been seeing since now. Now, since 2011, the United States Special Envoy has estimated that over 400,000 people have been killed. Now, people have to understand that number. That number is close to the entire population of Hamilton, completely wiped off. You know, it's just a statistic, but we have to understand that this is all of Hamilton wiped out. Now, compare this to what's happened in Iraq. Compare this to what's happened in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, over 104,000 people killed. In Iraq, 165,000 killed. Not to mention what's happening with the Rohingya, Somalis, and Muslims all over the world. And all the millions who've been displaced. We heard about the millions that were in Turkey. We've seen in the news all the people dying, going through sea, going through Europe, trying to get peace. So the question that we need to ask today is, why are Muslims all over the world? Why is this happening to us? What is happening in Aleppo and what is happening in Syria? And why is this something we've seen before? Why are these people killed? Now, in order to answer this question, we need to look at the stories in the Quran. The stories of why the prophets were attacked. Why were they killed? Why were they demonized for their message? Now, if we look at the story of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, we see a great example in overcoming oppression, overcoming severe oppression, and the triumph of the believers over the oppressors. I'm sure we're all aware of this story. Now, specifically, within the story of Musa, we have the story of the magicians and Fir'aun. Now, we know that Fir'aun was a stubborn and arrogant leader. He was a man who told people that he was a Lord and people need to worship him. He oppressed Banu Israel. He tormented them. He killed their children. He enslaved them. Now when Musa alayhi salam came to him, he was unable to answer to the miracles. So what did he do? And what does every oppressor do in this instance? They deal with their propaganda. They try to convince the masses. What did Bashar al-Assad do? What did he do and say that the people were lying? Now Fir'aun got his magicians together and he got all the people. And he told them that they would defeat Musa through the lies and the magic that they had. So the magicians came, and as we all know, they threw down their sticks and they threw down their ropes. Now, when they threw this down, we know that this magic was so strong that even Prophet Musa was frightened by it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his heart firm. Now in Surah Taha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this story. So Allah told Musa, when he saw this magic, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, fear not. Indeed, it is you who are superior. And throw what is in your right hand. It will swallow up what they have crafted. And what they have crafted is but the trick of a magician. And the magician will not succeed wherever he is. Now this last statement is what's important. The magician will never succeed. And we need to understand that these oppressors will never succeed in their lies. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about the tricks of the dunya. What happened next? What happened when the magician saw what Musa alayhi salam did? When his snake ate everything. They were entirely convinced. The next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the magicians fell down in sujood. And they said to Musa, we have believed in the Lord of Harun and Musa. And they did this in front of everyone. In front of Fir'aun. In front of the masses. They completely realized the truth. And were convinced and were not scared. Now, looking at Aleppo and seeing that the people stood up to their leader and were asking for justice. And he refused and threatened them and attacked them. The same thing can be seen with what Fir'aun did next after listening to the iman of the magicians. Fir'aun got into a rage and he threatened them and he attacked them. And this is something all the oppressors have done now, and this is something they will do in the future. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Fir'aun said, you believed him before I gave you permission. The arrogance. Indeed, he is your leader who taught you magic. So Fir'aun said, I will surely cut off your hands and your feet on opposite sides. And I will crucify you on the trunks of palm trees. And you will surely know which of us is more severe in punishment and more enduring. Look at the arrogance that this oppressor is doing. What have we seen Bashar al-Assad do? Attacking the people. Phosphorus bombs. Putting biological weapons on his people. This is what the oppressor does. The oppressor tries to break your will, to break the iman in your hearts. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us in the Quran is a lesson. And what did the magician say after this threat? And remember, this is the most powerful person in the land who made this threat. In ayah 72 of Surah Taha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the magicians boldly in front of everyone, they said, never will we prefer you over what has come to us of clear proofs, and over he who created us. And they told Fir'aun, so decree whatever you are to decree. You can only decree for this worldly life. Brothers and sisters, this is why Aleppo is important to us. They have told their Fir'aun, Bashar al-Assad, that all he can do is what is in this dunya. And this is what we need to put in our hearts and understand, that these dictators cannot do anything without the will of Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. Now in this conversation with the magicians, you can see why Muslims are oppressed all over the world. Why the prophets of Allah were attacked. It is because they came with Islam. It is because they brought a message that will remove injustice and remove oppression and will remove all these oppressors from our lands. They have built their kingdoms on our backs, on our people. And Islam will come to remove them. So the fact that you are Muslim is a threat to every oppressor in the world. And we need to understand this from looking at the issue in Halab. And as the magicians told us, they only have power in the dunya, and the true success is in the akhirah. In Syria, many of the brothers were given deals. The United Nations negotiated with them and tried to tell them that for peace you can have this. But they had to remove Islam from their solution. And they refused. And as you can see, this issue has lasted longer than any other issue in the Arab land. Why? The simple idea of what they're calling for Islam and the unification. Now, after realizing this, we need to understand what is it that we as Muslims can do. The fact that we are here shows that we are interested in something like that. And we are connected with our people there and all over the Muslim lands. We have to understand that this solution to this problem is an issue that lies within Islam. We need to call for Islam as a system, and we need to call for it as the prophets did, as our Prophet Musa alayhi salam did, as our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam did. A system that provides justice and peace for all its citizens. And most importantly, this is a guidance for all mankind. We need to see this. We need to understand that what happened in Aleppo and all over the Muslim world, and that we are now capable of working towards establishing Islam, no matter how you think as an individual you are. This solution comes individually and it comes as a collective. There's a hadith in Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi that says, the best jihad is the word of justice in front of an oppressive sultan. And the master of the martyrs is Hamza ibn al-Muttalib, and the man who stands in front of an oppressive ruler and enjoys the good and forbids the evil, and is so killed for it. Brothers and sisters, what have our brothers in Syria done other than speak the truth and enjoy the good and forbid the evil? And their dictator has killed them, over 400,000 of them. So we as Muslims here, we need to work towards raising the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to work towards re-establishing Islam in the Muslim lands, and that Islam is the true deen for all of mankind. Don't look at yourself as someone who's weak. Look at yourself as someone who can apply Islam, and as someone who can work and change this ummah. We definitely need to improve ourselves as Muslims. We need to focus on establishing Islam in our lives as well as our families. We have to increase our ibadah. We have to increase our knowledge. We need to make dua for our people. And we definitely need to increase our charity. But brothers and sisters, we have to understand that Islam has other obligations. Obligations like helping the ummah and removing oppression all over the world. We have to understand that the solution in Aleppo and all over the Muslim lands is a political solution. The oppressed are in need of charity, they are in need of dua. But what they're most in need of is a military that will come in and free them from the shackles of oppression. So as Muslims, what can we do? The first thing we need to study how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started as a single man in Arabia. And from there he got his Sahaba. And from there he became the ruler of Medina. And this tiny city in Medina came to conquer the Persian and Roman empires. It became the leading light of civilization in every aspect for thousands of years. So brothers and sisters, we need to understand that this work is ongoing, and this is work that we need to put effort in. So never lose hope. And never lose hope, as you can see our people in Aleppo and all over Syria never lost hope. In Surah Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us of a story, and it tells us how we can be victorious. The story of when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr were in the cave. And the Quraysh were chasing them and were very close. And Abu Bakr was terrified that he might be caught. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comforted him and told him that Allah is with us. So in Surah Tawbah verse 40, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, if you do not aid the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already aided him, when those who disbelieved had driven him out of Mecca as one of two. When they were in the cave and he said to his companion, do not grieve, indeed Allah is with us. And Allah sent down His tranquility upon him and supported him with angels. You did not see and made the word of those who disbelieved the lowest, while the word of Allah, that is the highest. And Allah is exalted in might and wise. Now brothers and sisters, in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَكَلِمَةُ اللَّهِ هِيَ الْعُلْيَا, and Allah's word is high. So please remember that if you carry Allah's word, you will always be high. And as the magicians were successful in this dunya and the akhirah, so too we want to be successful in the dunya and akhirah. Jazakallah khair for listening, and may Allah bless our shuhada in Syria and all over the world, and may Allah bless us for this talk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.